So today we're going to show you how to make an exciting Halloween candle using Candle Shack's pumpkin spice fragrance oil and our exclusive mineral and rapeseed blend of wax, CS1. This recipe has been thoroughly tested in our lab for a great burning profile, a great scent throw, and also meets our EU standards and regulations. Today we'll be making a set of 3 candles, and for this you will need 3 30 centilitre black jars, 3 wick cloths for your jars, some pumpkin spice fragrance oil, CS1 wax, some TG16 wicks, and a double boiler for melting your wax, and some dye chips for adding the colour. Firstly, we're going to stick the wick onto the stickum before we stick it into the jar. So, to do this, you'll need your stickums and your wicks. So to start with, you're going to peel the back off the stickum. Try and get as centrally on as possible onto the stickum. This makes it easier to aim in the bottom of the jar. I'll put that there just now. So here's your jar, and you will aim for the middle. And once you feel like you have it in the middle, give it a little push down to make the stickum stick, and you will find that your wick is in the middle. So if you want to do this for all of your jars, so now that you have your 3 jars wicked, now you want to put your wick claws on. So this is these round pieces. You want to sit it on the top of the jar, ensuring that the wick is through the big hole, and you want to pull your wick into the wick claw. Now you have 3 holes, you want to make sure it's in the middle hole. And if you do this with all 3, so these will ensure that your wick stays in the middle as you're making your candles. For this recipe, we will be using a fragrance content of 8% and a dye content of 0.1%. As the candle contains 8% fragrance oil, this means it must contain 92% of wax. Now that you have calculated how much wax you will need, use this number to calculate the amount of dye. The formula will be on your screen. So now you have your calculations. Let's times these by the amount of candles that you're going to make. The total values that you will need will be on your screen. Moving on, for mixing, you could use a pot of water, but here at Candle Shack we highly recommend that you get a double boiler. The double boiler will be used to mix the wax, the fragrance oil and the dye. The CS1 wax will need to be heated to 70 degrees Celsius. So first you'll mix your wax and your dye together before you add your fragrance oil. Next, we're going to add the fragrance oil. Now that your wax, fragrance and dye are mixed, it's time to pour your candles. Remember not to let your wax get below 65 degrees, as this wax does like to be poured hot. There are 2 ways that you could pour your candles. The first is a single pour, that would be pouring 10mm from the top. You will need additional tools for that. The second way is a double pour. The way to do this would be pour your candle 20mm from the top. Leave it for 2 to 3 hours, then later you will pour the extra 10mm in to flatten the top off. Now that you've poured your candles, leave them to set on an even surface. Different waxes have different drying times, but for CS1 wax we recommend a minimum of 48 hours. Now that your candles have set, it's time to trim your wicks to 10mm or in level with the top of the jar. So, Now that your candles are set, it's time to light them and smell the aromatic fragrance of Halloween. Thanks for joining us. I hope you've really enjoyed making your Halloween candles, and we'll see you next time.